Hello everyone, I thought it was time for another one of these videos because of something that happened today. Well, a couple of things that have happened. First of all, I'll start off again by saying I'm not a doctor or a nurse nor an epidemiologist. Those are the people that deal with this sort of thing with the COVID-19. I am a professional personal support worker who has worked this job a long time in home care, and I am a science and medical nerd. And I get all my information from reputable sources such as the CDC, Center for Disease Control, World Health Organization, the WHO. I even shared a post from the Harvard Medical School because it's a medical school, or anything with NIH, which is National Institutes of Health, or your local public health office. So a friend sent me something in Messenger today. It was a Facebook post. You may have seen it. You may have shared it. And it was one of those, hey, I was at a dinner party with a bunch of people and they have an uncle who's in China and he's a doctor and this is what he says. Yeah, no, it's kind of up there with that one that was shared about the cardiologist and when to drink water so you don't die. That was misinformation. Now, I'm going to tell you something else right now about me that some of you already know. I have a special hate for misinformation. I don't like using the word hate. It's a really strong negative word, but the reason why I hate misinformation so much is because people have gotten sick and died from it. So I do my best to work to dispel it by making these little videos. So if you see that post, don't share it because there's a lot of misinformation. Some of it's right, such as, yeah, you do need to drink fluids, but it's misinformation and please don't share it. In fact, if you hear or see anything about this COVID-19, fact check it at those reputable sources. In fact, I'm going to pull a Buddha on you. Don't believe what I tell you. Fact check it for yourself. Go to those sites. Yes, I pass information on from those sites, but don't believe me. Fact check me. I tell you to do that. Yeah. You know, because hey, I'm just a talking head here too, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that is just watch out for misinformation. Fact check everything on those sites because that's what I do before I pass it on to you. And again, fact check me. So yeah, now I'm going to pass on more information. You see, that was the one thing that caused me to make this video. The other thing is that I'm the kind of person, I don't panic. I don't panic, and I loathe panicking because when you panic, you cannot think straight. That's why I keep telling people, try not to. Well, here's the thing. I was drawn back to the SARS thing from about 20 years ago. Or no, 18? Oh, however long ago that was. At least 15. Back then I was living in Newmarket. Oh, it's Toronto, Toronto, Toronto. But I kept one ear on the news just in case. It never really came up my way. But yesterday I found out that, mostly it was Toronto, Toronto, Toronto. But yesterday I found out that there has now been a confirmed case in Richmond Hill, which is just 2 hours that way. And they were on a go bus and they had symptoms and they were on a go bus and with a bunch of other people. And where were those other people from? Were there any from my area? I don't know. I'm not panicking, but it has become a little too close for my comfort now. So I'm going to be having 2 ears on the news now instead of just the one because it's coming closer. So having said that, preventive measures. I'm on the World Health Organization page right now, and I'm going to share with you the preventive measures. Now, you've heard me say these before, but I'm telling you right now, I'm on the World Health Organization, and this is preventive measures for COVID-19, which I have told you before, you should be doing all the time anyway. Now, the first one is hand hygiene. I've mentioned there's 2 types of hand hygiene. Sanitizing, which is using an alcohol-based rub, which should be at least 70% isopropyl alcohol. And then there's soap and water. Now, soap and water is good. Both are good. But you must remember, I've mentioned before, testing was done in the most neglected places between the fingers. They say to do it, either one for 20 seconds. I like to do it for 30. And here's the thing. Alcohol-based hand rub is good in a pinch. But if your hands are really filthy, physically filthy, you need the soap and water because to try to use hand sanitizer on that is like trying to mop a kitchen floor before sweeping it first. So if your hands are physically dirty, you must use soap and water. If you do not have a water source, you use the sanitizer. Or if your hands are really filthy, just rub them off. Try to wipe off as much dirt as you can and then use the sanitizer. You can't use soap and water if you don't have the water. So yeah, so there's those things. And then let's see. Oh yes, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. You've heard me say this. Do not touch your face when you're out and around until you can hand sanitize or wash your hands because that's where these things get into your body. That's the access, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Excuse me. That's just from a dry throat. Okay, don't panic. Practicing respiratory hygiene. That's when you cough into your sleeve or into your shirt or into a tissue. But if you use a tissue, throw it away right away and then immediately wash and sanitize. Wearing a medical mask if you have respiratory symptoms, and once you take the mask off, you wash and or sanitize. Now here's I'll get back to the masks. The last one is maintaining a social distance, a minimum of 1 meter from individuals with respiratory issues. I read somewhere else it was 2 meters. The World Health says 1 meter. The more the better, I would guess. So yeah, there's that. Now getting to the masks. There's many different types of masks, but I'm going to mention two, which I've mentioned before. There's the surgical mask, which if you've ever seen a medical show, it's the one they slap on when they go to do an operation. The N95 is if you've ever seen any show or movie where they've got the hazmat suits on and they've got these little round things. Those are most likely N95 masks. The main difference between those is the surgical mask is for you when you are sick to protect other people from your germs. Okay. The N95 is for you to wear to protect yourself from everyone else who's sick, who's not wearing surgical masks, but should be. The N95 is a particulate respirator. It keeps the particles out because this is airborne particles, right? And you need a seal on your face. Now, here's the thing. I'm in healthcare, and my employer, we did fittings 2 weeks ago. They do this thing where they use something that's got an odor in it, and then they do the test. And basically, if you can smell the odor, you need an adjustment. If you cannot smell the odor, then it's fine. So that's how we do it, but they need to be fitted properly. And I don't know how one would do that if you don't have the proper equipment. I thought about it, and I thought, if I wasn't in healthcare and I had N95s, what would I do? Well, I'd maybe find a small closet and use a can of hairspray or something that's got an odor to it, and then do it that way. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I'm not telling you to do that. That's just what I might do if it were just me and I didn't have the resources I have now. The other thing about these masks is if you're in, say, a hospital or a long-term care facility working, you cannot wear the same one for several patients. When you go from room to room to room, you have to change them in between. Once they become damp, which they will because there's moisture in your breath, you have to change them because they're no longer good. So there's that. Now, next thing, about the last one about keeping a distance from sick people. If I get sick, we don't get paid well in home care as home care PSWs. It's a real hit in the paycheck to call in sick. We did used to have 2 sick days before the government took them away. But I look at it this way. Masks are good, but they're not perfect. And if I go out in a cold, I may potentially make really ill or kill one of my patients because a lot of them have respiratory issues. And I don't want that on my conscience. So I'll take the hit in the paycheck and stay home. And you don't have to allow sick people into your house either. There's that thing as well. Having said that, it will directly relate to the emergency kit I've mentioned before, which you should have anyway. All of the utilities say you should have 72-hour emergency kit. I remember there was a blast a few years ago. You should have it: food, water, medications, cash, copies of ID and stuff, enough for 72 hours in case of a power outage or that sort of thing. Well, I think you might want to do it for longer. I'm thinking more like a week, because what if you get sick? I know if I get sick, I don't want to go out. So I'm going to cocoon myself in my house. Or if there ends up being a lot of sickness, say in my neighborhood or in my area, I don't want to go out either there. So I want to, again, cocoon myself in my house. So the same thing would apply to you. If you have an outbreak where you are and you're afraid and you don't want to go out, you have your food and stuff there to carry you through. That's it, I think, pretty much, except for this one's directly to my healthcare peeps. I've mentioned before about certain PSW associations out there telling you what to do when, if such a thing happens, if you have an outbreak, or they were telling you what to do if you go into a home care, into a home, and you think someone has the coronavirus. They said you call the public health. No, you do not. It all goes through your supervisor. It's one of those things that you should just go through your supervisor, because your employer has rules, regs, policies, and procedures for such a thing. Okay? And that association is not part of that. That's not, and it's breaking the law too, as I've mentioned, with the FIPA, the Personal Health Information Protection Act. So, as I said as well, that you cannot tell by someone having a cough, like the cough I did before. Well, that was from just me being dry, but it could have been, someone's cough could be cold, flu, pneumonia, COVID. You don't know that. And carry protective personal equipment with you at all times. And if you don't have the proper stuff, talk to your employer. Because if you go in and they tell you they have the COVID-19, you need to go in. Well, not if I don't have the proper PPE, I don't. If you do not have the proper protective equipment, you can refuse to go in, because that is unsafe work that you think may harm yourself. But again, check with your employer for all of those things. Your rules, regs, policies, and procedures if you're not sure of them, what plan they have in place for this thing, and for PPE that you may need. Anyway, that's it for me. Stay healthy, stay safe. Have a great day.